unease was growing.
Herbert Hoover did keep making inquiries among his Wall Street friends, asking if he should be concerned, and he received a memo from Thomas W. Lamont, who was the senior partner of J.P. Morgan and Company.
Grandfather said in that letter, the market will correct itself, and there would not appear to be any need for any kind of government intervention in the market.
Lamont reassured Hoover that there was absolutely no cause for concern, and the memo ended with the line, "The future appears brilliant." Five days later, the stock market crashed.
No one knows what triggered the sudden loss of confidence that happened at the end of Wednesday, 23rd of October. But out of nowhere, a sharp fall in automobile stocks provoked a frantic last hour's trading. Millions of shares were suddenly sold. The next day, the Great Crash of 1929 began.
October 24th, 1929, Black Thursday, is often considered to be the beginning of the crash. There was really a tremendous drop which scared a lot of people.
It is impossible to underestimate the shock, a sense of stunned disbelief. People panicked as the market just drops and drops and drops.
Desperate for news, thousands gathered outside the stock exchange.
Tremendous crowd standing there, very grimly staring ahead, men who had just been wiped out.
City officials are so alarmed by this that they send 400 mounted police, fearing that there's going to be a kind of Bastille-like invasion of the stock exchange.
And it's said that there was a strange murmur in the air, that there was a very, very strange kind of haunting sound, which must have been the cumulative voices of all of these people sharing their concerns.
The popular reaction is one of, this can't be happening.
A visitor from Britain was there that day too. Winston Churchill had invested much of his own money in the US stock market and had decided to pay a visit.
I happened to be walking down Wall Street at the worst moment of the panic, and a perfect stranger who recognized me invited me to enter the gallery of the stock exchange. I expected to see pandemonium, but the spectacle that met my eyes was one of surprising calm and orderliness. The 1,200 members of the stock exchange were walking to and fro like a slow-motion picture of a disturbed ant heap, offering each other enormous blocks of securities at a third of their old prices.
Churchill was to lose a fortune in the crash that day. Outside, the crowds continued to wait for news. Rumours were fueling the mounting panic.
Once the crash is underway, the real question becomes one of confidence. When you lose all confidence in the economy, good and bad go down together. And so the chief investment elite is at great pains to try to restore that confidence, to convince people that the economy and the stock market is sound.
The bankers knew they had to do something to avert a total financial meltdown. A Times journalist watched events unfold.
The crowd grew thicker and noisier, and then there was an eddy in the middle of it, and a man in shirt sleeves was pushing his way across the street in the direction of the Morgan offices. This was Charles E. Mitchell, chairman of the National City Bank. He pushed his way into the offices of the House of Morgan, and a little later, we learned what he'd gone for.
Charles Mitchell had been summoned to a meeting at the offices of J.P. Morgan. Around the table were 4 other leading bankers, including Richard Whitney, vice president of the New York Stock Exchange. These were some of the wealthiest businessmen in America, representing around $6 billion in assets. Chairman was Thomas Lamont.
I think it was a great shock to Grandfather. He did not foresee that anything like the great crash that took place would happen. Grandfather called a meeting at his office at 23 Wall Street of some of the leading bankers in town and figured out what they could do to support the stock market, which was plunging. What they came up with was a plan to put together a pool of $250 million. And those funds would be used to support a key list of stocks.
At lunchtime, Richard Whitney marched across the street back to the trading floor of the stock exchange. With a huge injection of the bankers' cash, Whitney hoped to get the market moving again.
Whitney parades over to the desk where U.S. Steel is being sold and buys 25,000 shares of U.S. Steel at a price well above what it was then selling for, and then makes a similar promenade to other blue chip stocks and makes a similar purchase. The idea being we will now restore everybody's confidence in the market. And other great financial titans of the time, including John D. Rockefeller, make similar purchases, hoping that this symbolic act will turn the tide.
And it worked. Such was the magical power of the Whitney name and the Morgan name that stocks suddenly turned around and started to go up.